let's talk about some more cozy games that aren't all farming related, this time with a bit of a lo-fi twist. So if you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. Now, let's dive right in without any further delay. Coffee Talk is one of those precious few indie games that gets a lot of coverage in things like indie directs and showcases, and that is certainly not without reason. Coffee Talk is a chill visual novel set in a post-fantasy world with all kinds of magical beings cohabitating in modern-day Seattle. If that premise piques your interest even a little bit, you need to give it a shot. Now, I know sometimes visual novels can be a bit of a tough sell, and believe me, I'm right there with you, but trust me when I say if you like chill vibes and a hint of the city life, and don't mind doing a bit of reading, you'll love this. The closest thing I think I can compare it to is the book Legends and Lattes. If you've read that book, you know exactly what vibe I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's about an orc who turns her back on her days of mercenary work and starts up a coffee shop in a small town. Now, it's always a bit tricky to talk about story-based games, and this is no different because I don't want to spoil anything from the actual stories themselves, but what I can absolutely say is while there aren't any QuickTime events or action combat, and for all intents and purposes this could easily just be a book or a short story, there's just something so wholesome and chill about the presentation and execution. Every frame and every storyline is engaging and unique. You genuinely start to care about and have feelings about the characters involved. And that's saying something because for a piece of media that is solely focused on story, that's incredibly important. The only parts I would say that are more unique to the medium of video games would be the drink-making minigame where you have to input all the ingredients and do latte art. And the fact that some customers don't have a specific recipe in mind, so you have to figure out what it is that they like based on what they tell you. Other than those things, though, it's a story game through and through. I don't say that as a bad thing, and as someone with dyslexia, you can be sure that if I recommend a reading-heavy game, it won't disappoint. However, I will say that if you know the idea of a reading game doesn't sound like something that you want any part of, you likely won't enjoy this game. This really is a game for chilling out in front of your computer with a nice warm drink and experiencing a story more than playing a game. It won't scratch that platforming itch or yearning for sick headshots. It's just pure unadulterated story, and I love that about it. But if story isn't quite your thing and you're feeling like you're in more of a rut with life, may I recommend our next game. Kind Words and its sequel, Kind Words 2, are two incredibly interesting little games. We can start with the vibes. It is absolutely lo-fi, in every sense of the word. The models themselves are all really pretty simple, and the towns and rooms you interact with are all just these little cubes. However, while lo-fi graphics are a dime a dozen in games these days, the gameplay is where this game really stands out. Kind Words, as a series, is basically Second Life, but the entire point is to simply say kind things to each other. That's it. You log on, read some people's messages about what they're struggling with, or write your own, and you can respond to or be responded to. They also have themed rooms like a poetry bar and a recommendation room. In the poetry bar, as you might expect, you sit and read other people's poetry that they've written in the game. Or you can write your own. There's no voice chat, so you don't need to worry about speaking it out loud or performing it or anything like that. You can just type it into the box and send it out for other people to read, give you kind words about, and hopefully make their day a bit better. And the recommendation room is quite similar. You can look at all the different kinds of prompts, everything from music recommendations to people asking what you think about a certain topic. It's really interesting and something I've never had the pleasure of taking part in. I got internet access pretty late after Second Life and all those online chat rooms, so I never really got to experience that, but Kind Words really feels like what those chat rooms were all said to be for. Places online where anyone from anywhere in the world could meet up and talk about any number of topics. Now, that premise may raise a few red flags if you're a parent or just particularly security conscious, and that's totally fair. So much so, the devs make it clear at every turn what you're getting into. And they take every precaution not to enable undesirable behavior. They keep prolonged conversations short and sweet, and the real meat of the game, sitting in your room, reading other people's posts, and writing them nice letters, is completely anonymous, with no way for either party to follow up and harass or build real-world relationships. Now, obviously, there is only so much they can do, and if you really wanted to, I'm sure you could find a way around their limitations and precautions. However, that's true of any security measure, and I think you can hardly blame the devs for that. This game is going to be perfect for anyone who wants to chill out to some great lo-fi beats in a cute little world with customization and activities, but with the added intrigue of talking to real-life actual humans instead of either scripted NPCs or some AI. And from what I've seen, the community in Kind Words is very much a LGBTQ-friendly one. Obviously, you can only guarantee so much, but they allow you to report interactions that you find offensive or inappropriate, and they're very clear up front that they don't control what's being said. But again, the community I've seen so far has been a really welcoming, wholesome bunch who seemingly really do just want to spend some time sending kind words to other people who might be going through the same things they are. In fact, this might be what I would consider the most cozy game of all of the cozy games, because while most cozy games kind of give you the vibe of this wholesome, tight-knit community, they're all fake. You know, you're always imitating that and kind of living it through your character. But with this game, you actually kind of do just live that. Everybody that you interact with sends you kind words, says nice things, is just a nice human being. It's kind of surreal how it kind of just makes the experience of playing the game feel like living in a cozy game. If you're feeling down, maybe you don't have that many people to talk to, or you find it hard to get over the social hurdle of reaching out to people to talk, this might be a great game to help ease you into that. And even if that's not the case and you just have some stuff you want to be reassured about, like your sexuality or life choices, this is a perfect place for exactly that. And I cannot recommend it enough. Speaking of self-improvement, though, Cozy Typer is, well, exactly what it sounds like. It's a game that lets you practice your touch typing skills in a more organic and uplifting way. Instead of the usual random words you need to type as fast as possible, you get inspirational quotes and sayings which you type out. And you get to pick from a number of different difficulty options as well. Whether you're just looking for a more chill time or more of a challenge, they've got something for you. Now, if I'm totally honest, this isn't really much more than a learning tool wrapped up to look all nice. They aren't exactly breaking the mold with this one, and while I think that's fine, I also know some people are going to take issue with the fact that it really is just a touch typing practice game. Now, if that's something you're looking to improve on, but a simple online tool doesn't quite cut it for you vibes-wise, then this is definitely worth a try. While functionally it is just a touch typing game, they do have their own little touches which add a pretty solid amount of enjoyment on top of the personal improvement which comes with learning to touch type. Overall, there isn't much to say about this one. It's pretty simple. If you're looking to improve your typing and maybe even spelling and punctuation, this is the game for you. If not, then yeah, maybe pass on this one, and instead try our next game. Summerhouse is a game about building little scenes and customizing them to your heart's content. It's actually eerily similar to Tiny Glade. Go watch this video if you want to hear more about that one, I highly recommend it. But Summerhouse is largely the same concept. You get a starting location that you get to choose from, and then you're free to pick and place different building blocks to make your perfect little scene. The obvious difference between the two is stylistic. Summerhouse is very much set in modern day, and that is what all the building blocks encourage you to build. I think it's a really great tool for making some interesting cityscapes, but you can also make some more rural stuff if that's more your fancy. There is a clear focus on modern construction and materials though. Where Tiny Glade was more medieval in nature, Summerhouse is all about that city life. and that is one of the reasons that it's on this list to begin with. As cute and charming and cozy as Tiny Glade is, I don't know that I would call it lo-fi. Summerhouse, however, man, this game is dripping with lo-fi. But this game isn't lo-fi just because they have a particular kind of music in it. No, this game is lo-fi because, I mean, look at it. It's this really lovely 2D-ish voxel-based system which lets you place objects in 3D space, but you're locked off to one perspective, and everything has this really brilliant low-fidelity pixel art style to it, which really brings it all together for me. If you're looking for a chill time sink, maybe you saw Tiny Glade and thought, that's really cool, but I wish it were more modern and more pixel art, this is the game for you. It has everything a gamer like you is looking for. However, it's not perfect. I think there are a few things they could improve on to make it feel a bit better to play. To be clear, it's nothing that I would consider to be a deal breaker, but just some things to improve the experience of actually playing the game. The one major thing I think is really holding it back is the fact that you have two ways to choose the block that you want to use. Either you can right-click until you find it under the category you've selected, in which case, if you click just one time too many, you need to go through the entire carousel until the piece that you want comes back. Or you can choose from a catalog. Now, normally my preferred way to do this would be to just go to the catalog and pick the piece I want. However, there is absolutely no pagination within the catalog, so you just have to scroll down a huge list of parts until you find what you're looking for. Now, these could be solved in a few ways. For the first issue I have, just giving you the option to maybe hold Alt and right-click to go back one selection, I think would be enough. However, for the second, I think it's a bit more complicated. I can fully understand if the dev wants you to have to look through the whole list in order to find what you're looking for. I think the intent, if there is one, is probably to make you see all of the options and get inspired, which is honestly fine. The list isn't so long that I don't think it could be done well. However, the speed of scrolling through that list is unacceptably slow. This is one full scroll of my mouse wheel. Yeah. So scrolling through the whole thing feels like a real chore at this speed. If they feel really strongly about having one big long list, I could be on board with that. But then I think that they really need to speed up the scrolling. Other than that though, this game is really great for killing time on a work break or after you come home after a long day or something. It's really great for getting the creative juices flowing, and just like Tiny Glade, they did a really good job making it easy to make good-looking dioramas, which I think is a key component to a game like this. But maybe diorama builders aren't quite your speed. Maybe you're looking for something a bit more witchy for this Halloween season, and boy have I got the game for you. A quick disclaimer right up front. This is an early access game, so if you're not into that, this is not going to be for you. Also, this game is pulling from Slavic folklore. I, nor the developers, as far as they've said, are Slavic. They're located in Germany, which as far as I can tell based on demographic data, doesn't exactly have a huge Slavic population. So with that in mind, there is absolutely a possibility that the Slavic folklore depicted here is tinted by some of those unsavory post-Christian ideas of what ancient Slavic religions were like. They do lean a bit more into the culty side of depictions of pagan people. However, I actually think from what I've seen of the story, they're at least attempting to show these pagan religions in a less negative light than you may be used to. And, in fact, seem to be criticizing the rise of Christianity and more modern forms of faith. Also, I don't know if there are any taboos about different garments in Slavic culture, so while I see the clothing options as really great vibes-wise, there is certainly potential for there to be some offensive elements there if the clothing choices that they used are like religious garb or something. I don't know. I just thought I should mention that because that is something that I'm absolutely not as well informed on as I should be going into this game. So if you are Slavic and have something to tell me about the depictions of your culture, please by all means let me know in the comments. I always love to hear more about that kind of things, especially straight from the source. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the actual game. Oh, also, this gameplay will be from the tutorial level of the game, and none of this is what I would consider to be spoilers. Reka is a game about a young girl, Reka, who stumbles into a small village. You enter intending to learn a bit about the region and figure out what you're going to do in order to make some money and survive. Fairly quickly, you hear about an old lady who lives out in the woods. The townsfolk seem to think that she's a bit odd, and some of the older people regard her with a tentative caution. Everyone dismissively refers to her as an old witch and talk about how any sensible person shouldn't fear such things. After all, witchcraft and magic is on the way out, and the new religion, it's Christianity, is here to replace it. Now, after that absolutely glowing recommendation, Reka obviously decides it's probably best to go talk to this old lady. So with all your small fetch quests around town finished up, she heads out into the forest to meet this woman. That's all you really need to know. The premise is that Reka is magically sensitive, and Baba Yaga needs a younger witch to take her place. That's the lady in the woods. So you become the Baba Yaga's apprentice, learning to control her house, which travels between regions on huge chicken legs. The vibes in this game are amazing. The towns all have that perfectly Middle Ages feel, and the world has this really great cusp of fall look, which just really rockets the vibes up to 11. This is the kind of world I would love to get lost in. And don't even get me started on the music. Now, some people in the reviews for this game do mention that it never really gets that deep. Like, you basically have all your abilities after the first town, and after that you're just walking around cooking things for people and doing pretty basic side quests. And while that's true, I also kind of love that for a chill, cozy game. I don't always need to feel like I'm in this endless expanse of a world with limitless tasks to take up my time. I mean, something that's core to a great cozy game feel is low stakes. And while there is cosmic magic and forest spirits and stuff galore in this game, it never really feels like there's this big bad around the corner waiting to be defeated. And I kind of love that about this game. It feels like it takes the Princess Mononoke approach of living in harmony with nature and the natural world instead of trying to control it and break it to your will. For instance, before you go chop any trees down, the absolute most basic skill in any survival crafting game, you need to go get on the good side of the forest spirit, so that they'll actually let you cut the trees down. And that's just such a cool idea, making you have to actually think about what you're doing more than, oh, I need materials. There's some, I'll go take those. And you can see that in these little stump people too. I got a mission to go take an amulet back from them so I could teleport back to the chicken house when I wanted, and Baba Yaga made it sound like they'd be attacking me or something. But when I did finally gather up the courage to go take on these fearsome foe, I found them just to be these little stumps with faces carved into them, which give you stuff if you give them berries. And the mission literally just involved helping one of them get unstuck from some planks that had fallen on top of them. It's that kind of thing that sets the feeling of this world, and it's that kind of thing that I really like about this game. It's chill. Sure, it's kind of a survival crafting game, but you're much more focused on collecting cool trinkets to decorate your house with, not a constant grind to survive. You don't even need to cook or drink to stay alive or anything. And I think that's where a lot of negative reviews are coming from for this game. I think the devs did make it sound a bit more like a survival crafting game with a big sprawling magic system, or at least that's what people got from it from the description and videos. No, it would be much better described as a decorating game with some cool witchy elements and a bit of story to justify continuing to play. And given that it's only $20, I think that's very reasonable. No, it's not the next Valheim, but witchy, which sure is a bit of a bummer, but what it is still really fun and a great cozy fall game to spend some time in on a chilly day with a warm cup of coffee. But that's all the games for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you here next time. If you have anything that you want to add to the discussion, please do feel free to leave that down in the comments. I always love hearing your perspectives on the games that I cover. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a video. Other than that though, thank you so much for watching all the way to this point. I hope you have a great day, and as always, happy gaming.